Welcome to the class.
My name is Sarah.
And I'm Martin.
And we are the owners of SIMPLY-K9.
In this class, we're going to show you how to create a balanced dog and especially creating a good relationship with your dog.
So the first thing to understand before we begin is that humans and dogs are two different species. You already know this, but sometimes we don't really apply it in how we communicate with our dogs. So we have to remember that dogs are instinctual beings and humans are more intellectual, emotional beings. With that being said, the psychology behind how we communicate and how we act is totally different, and that's what we're going to be diving into today. So let's begin with understanding canine communication. So canine communication is super important, and it's basically how dogs communicate. We're going to share with you some key principles for you to better understand your dog. Let's begin with body language.
The first thing in body language is the posture of your dog. The posture of your dog could actually tell you a lot of how he's feeling. If you see the body relaxed, calm, loose, that means that your dog is fine, is happy-go-lucky, he's okay. If his posture is a little tense, that means something in his surroundings is creating a little bit of stress. If your dog has a cowering posture, that means that he might be a little bit afraid or feel submissive.
What's also important to look at in dog communication is the tail. The tail of your dog can communicate different emotions and intentions. So your dog could have a relaxed tail, a tucked in tail can mean more fear and submission, a raised tail can mean confidence or sometimes dominance,
or overconfidence,
and a wagging tail. Now, a wagging tail doesn't always mean happy-go-lucky. So sometimes you'll have dogs that wag their tails when they're getting anxious or when they're super confident and they're ready to go fight. So don't confuse a wagging tail necessarily with a happy-go-lucky dog. It can mean that, but it can also mean the opposite.
Yeah, because a wagging tail just represents that your dog is excited. So he could be positively excited or negatively excited. Next, you could see what's going on with their eyes. A dog that's emotionally balanced, his eyes are going to be normal. But if ever he's a little bit overexcited or a little bit in a, let's say, an aggressive state or a nervous state, you're going to see the dilation of the pupils. There is also the eye contact. If your dog gives you regular eye contact, that means that everything is fine. If ever your dog is avoiding eye contact, so that means that he might be stressed or anxious about something. And if ever you see your dog fixated on something, that means that something is exciting him and he might be calm, but he's fixated on something specific.
You can also check out the position of your dog's ears. So they could be just normal and relaxed. They could be forward, which means like alert, or they could sometimes be also back, which means maybe a bit more submission, scared, or nervousness.
Now the mouth. If the mouth is open, tongue out, and just breathing, that means that your dog is calm and relaxed. Now closed mouth, that means that your dog is a little bit more alert. Another way of communicating through the mouth is showing the teeth. If your dog is showing his teeth, that means there's a little bit of aggression, something negative is going on. There is also yawning. If your dog yawns, it usually means that your dog is changing state of mind. And usually it's to calmness. And if ever you see that your dog is licking his lips, that means there's something that's making him nervous and he's trying to control himself.
Your dog can also vocalize by barking, by growling, or by whining.
So understanding your dog's body language, it's really about creating a relationship where you actually understand how your dog feels, because all the guidelines that we gave you are actually guidelines. Some dogs could react a different way than others. So you gotta get to know your dog to know exactly which body language means what to your dog. So properly understanding the body language of your dog comes down to having a good relationship with your dog. Getting to know him, knowing what triggers him, what doesn't trigger him, what makes him happy, what makes him nervous. So that's why it's important to build a proper relationship with your dog.
Another way dogs communicate is by touch. So it could be a bite, it could be pushing, it could be body pressure. These are all ways that dogs communicate through touch.
So the bite is pretty clear. That means that the dog is actually either defending himself or he's feeling threatened or attacking. So it's pretty clear. Then you have the pushing. So the pushing could actually mean a lot of things. So you have to see what's going on exactly with your dog. So if your dog is, let's say, wants to play ball, so he's going to actually push you to actually get you to go and grab the ball and play with him. If ever they want to keep something for themselves and they want another dog to just leave it, they're actually gonna apply pressure so that no dog touches whatever he's protecting. There's also the leaning, the body pressure. So if a dog leans, usually it means that there's comfort that he wants to get from his owner. You got to be careful with that because sometimes anxious dogs or nervous dogs are going to do that. They're going to go to their owners, they're going to actually lean on their leg or lean on them. So you got to make sure that it's not coming from an anxious state of mind. You have to make sure that he's okay or he's doing it with love. If he's doing it with anxiety, the best thing to do is actually help him to get a little bit away from you. He could be close but not lean on you, because if he's anxious and you allow him to lean on you, you're actually nurturing the anxiety, and that's not what we want. So just ask him for space.
So same as body language, you also have to interpret what touch means for you and your dog. The next way dogs communicate is through energy.
So energy is the silent language that all animals use. It's the life force that's everywhere. It's every motion that exists in the universe is energy. So animals use it as a common way to communicate. It's also very important that we know that we are also communicating with them through our energy. A good example of energy communication in animals is, for example, when a pack of wolves is hunting. So they're going to be communicating with each other through energy, because you don't see wolves saying, hey buddy, I'm going to be on the left and you go on the right and we're going to catch the elk. No, it's all through energy. Okay? It's almost like telepathy in a certain way. So for us, the way we communicate through that energy is through our emotions, our intentions, and our thoughts. And that's really important, because if you're not aware of these three things, you might say a command or ask your dog to do something or try to make your dog feel better. But what's going on energy wise is completely a different message. Okay, so that's why it's really important. An example I give my clients is when somebody has a reactive dog, a dog that sees other dogs and starts barking, wants to attack. So when they want to go for a walk, the first image or thing that's going on in the human mind is, oh my God, I have to go for a walk with my dog and he might be reactive. I might cross another dog and, mayhem could explode. So that energy is stress. So when your dog feels that you're stressed and you're going for a walk, he's saying, oh my God, something's wrong with my human. I'll be alert because my human doesn't feel okay. So they put on the leash, they walk out the door with that energy of, something's going on. And then the human is thinking, oh my God, I hope I'm not gonna come across another dog. And law of attraction attracts it, and then they cross another dog. And then the thoughts of the human is going to be, oh my God, I hope my dog's not going to bark. I hope my dog is not going to lunge. I hope my dog is not going to attack. So the messages without knowing is launch, bark, attack. And that's the message that your dog is getting. So your dog is perceiving that his owner is stressed, and now he sees the dog and he sees that that's the source of the stress. And then he asks for guidance from his human, and the human is, without knowing, sending the commands of launch, bark, and attack. And as they go by, the dog is going to do exactly what the human is asking energy wise, which is those three things. And even though the human might be saying, no, leave it, or no, come here, and pulling or whatever, the energy, the message being sent by the human with his energy, which is emotions, intentions, and thoughts, is what the person really doesn't want to. So that's why it's really important when you want to communicate with your dog properly to be aware that energy, which is your emotions, your thoughts, and your intentions, are the main basic things that you're going to be having to control to have a proper communication. I know it sounds a little bit magical and Harry Potter-like, but I'm telling you, it works. We've been doing it for years now, and even in our puppy classes, we actually teach how to communicate with your puppy through energy. And the results are really wonderful. Because once you create that communication through energy, which again are intention, thoughts, and emotions, your relationship is built with a better understanding of each other.
So, how to master energy? So, first, you have to clear your mind. You have to let go of all that chatter, all these obligations or things that are going on in your mind. What you have to do, what lunches you have to make, what suppers you have to. Anything that's going on in your mind, you have to clear it and let it go.
You got to focus on feeling good, happy, and positive. Because when you're feeling happy, good, and calm, that allows the communication between you and your dog to be clear. Because whenever there's negative chatter, there's negative feelings, that actually creates interference. So it scrambles the message that you're sending to your dog. So calmness creates clear communication.
So the next step is to be in the now, be in the present moment. So whatever you're doing now, if you're walking your dog, just focus on the walk with your dog. That's it.
Being in the now allows you to actually enjoy and benefit from what dogs are supposed to bring to us, which is helping us live in the now moment. Because when you live in the now and you're actually focusing on you walking your dog, being with your dog, and you're removing all the stress that life brings you, you're actually benefiting yourself and you're actually making yourself get healthier in a energetic way.
The next step to master your energy is to see what you want your dog to do. So you have to visualize and really see and feel what you want your dog to do in this now moment. See it like a movie in your head. The clearer you see it, the better your dog understands.
If we go back to the example I gave before about the person that has a reactive dog, so in the same situation where they're crossing another dog, if the person thinks calmness, okay, my dog is going to be calm, I'm going to be in control of my emotions, and then the dog's going to react and he's going to start barking because that's what he's used to. But then when he looks at his owner and sees that the owner has calmness, it's going to snap him out of it. It's going to actually allow him to know that we no longer are stressed with that situation. And that's actually going to help the dog to understand that dogs are no longer a threat.
Next step is to practice. You need to be patient. You need to practice. Remember, this is something new. You haven't been doing this your whole life. You've been doing it a certain way that wasn't serving you, and now you're changing to a new way. So any new thing takes practice and repetition. The more you practice it, the better you'll get at it. So the most important thing is to be happy and grateful. When your dog has a success, it's especially important to be happy, grateful, and proud.
This means that when your dog succeeds in changing in a wanted behavior, for example, that you could actually celebrate, but this doesn't mean that you have to be overexcited physically, like, oh my God, good boy, done. Because let's say your dog is a reactive dog and he passes by a dog and he doesn't do anything, and you actually explode in overexcitement, you might trigger him and he might go back to the unwanted behavior. So that means that you should be proud of him. That feeling of proudness, that energy of you being proud of your dog is one of the best treats you could give your dog. So basically, you could, if you're overexcited and you're really happy about what your dog just did, just celebrate inside you. Feel proud. Channel all that energy of excitement through proudness of your dog and send it to your dog. And then you could actually, with one calm petting, you could actually transfer that proudness that you have towards them. And you can be sure that your dog's gonna feel it. And the last step is repeat the successes, repeat the good energy. And the more you repeat, the more it's going to become a good habit for you and your dog on an everyday basis.
So when you're trying to change a dog's behavior, it's important to, like we said, stay in the present moment. Because as humans, we tend to carry a lot of baggage, a lot of the past, but dogs don't live that way. So when you have, for example, the situation that you're walking your dog and your dog was reactive, if you keep in mind those images, that's what you're going to recreate. So when you want to create something new, a new behavior, a new thought, new feelings, you have to really let go of the past and really imagine what you want in the now moment.
because those things in the past represent your thoughts, your emotions, and your intentions. So by keeping those things in your mind, that's the message that you're sending to your dog. So by having new thoughts, new feelings, and picturing what you exactly want from your dog, you're actually gonna create it in real life.
Right. So one exercise you could kind of do is creating this, maybe take a sheet of paper and create the old you and the old dog. So I don't know, let's say your dog's name is Max, and so Max, what did he used to do? So maybe he used to be reactive. He used to jump on the couch. He used to pull on the leash. Now, what is the Max that you want now? So maybe he's a nice, well-mannered dog. Maybe he walks politely on a loose leash right beside you. So you can actually write that down and see that paper that you've written down and visualize that each and every day. And this could really create magic in your life. We've done this exercise with clients, and they really see the difference when they actually let go of the past and actually really see the new dog that they want. And it's the same thing also for yourself, because remember, like, we're the ones communicating with our dogs, and most often we actually trigger dogs into the behaviors that they have, because we keep, again, hold of the past and hold of like this old dog behaviors that they used to have. So again, we let that go. And how are you as a dog owner now? So maybe before you were stressed and anxious as a dog owner. Now, how are you acting? You're maybe calm, confident, relaxed. And these are all behaviors, emotions, intentions that are going to translate to your dog.
So to conclude on canine communication, it's important to know that there's no bad events. Every outcome of an event is actually how you react to that event. So it's basically your decision of taking an approach that's more as a learning experience than a negative event.
It's important to remember that dogs communicate in all different ways. So you have to see and study a bit how your dogs communicate with you in order to have a good and long-lasting relationship with your dogs. Next up, we're going to talk about establishing leadership. So establishing leadership basically means that you are the leader. You are the one that is there to guide your dog. You are like the parent, you are like the teacher, you are basically the team leader, there to offer guidance and show your dog what's right from wrong.
And it's really important to see it, as Sarah mentioned before, as a guide, as a guidance, as a parenting, as the person that's responsible for the education of the puppy or the dog. And that's why it's important that you feel comfortable in saying no and sometimes interrupting physically what your puppy is doing so that you actually have the proper way of educating your dog.
Yes, because your dog doesn't know how to live and how to behave in this world. This is a human world where we bring in a dog, an animal that we need to teach and to show what's right, what's wrong, what to do, what not to do. So it's your responsibility to be that person that's there to lead the way and show them what's right.
And to show them properly, you need to say those yeses and you also need to say those nos.
We're going to give you some key elements to be a good leader for your dog to succeed.
First, to be a good leader, you have to exude calmness and assertiveness. So what does that mean exactly? So calmness is pretty simple. You have to be calm. You can't be stressed and trying to order your dog to do stuff or trying to manage your dog's behavior or situation or whatever with stress. It has to be through calmness. So calmness, what it helps with is you actually become in the moment. And that state of mind of being in the moment helps the communication with you and your dog. So through calmness, there's a better communication. And then there's assertiveness. So what assertiveness means is that you say something or you interrupt your puppy, or your dog that's doing something that he's not supposed to. So you have to assertively tell them that they can do. So you have to stop the physical thing that they're doing. For example, if your dog is jumping on the couch, you're gonna physically help him understand that he's not supposed to go on the couch. So you could block, so that's assertiveness, and also bring him down physically. So that in their language is actually explaining, so educating properly in their language what they're supposed to do, or in this case, what they're supposed not to do. A good way to practice calm and assertive energy is mindfulness. So that means that you have to be aware of what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and being in the present moment.
Another way to project calm and assertive energy is through your body language. So you have to watch out for your posture. Your dog is highly sensitive and will see if you're calm and confident or if you're anxious and stressed. So this could look like just putting your shoulders back and standing straight and confident, or slouching your shoulders and giving a command to your dog. Okay, please sit. You can see the difference between this and this.
It's important to be aware of the tone of voice you use when you're speaking with your dog. So if you want to communicate with your dog properly and you want him to actually understand what you're trying to say, it's always important to be calm, to use calmness. Like we said before, calmness is really the key to a good communication. Because if you're shouting or if you're angry, use anger, any negative feeling, any negative type of communication, you're actually going to confuse your dog, make your dog angry, or even shut down your dog. And that's not something that we want in a good communication. And that also applies whenever you're speaking in an excited way, you're actually promoting excitement. And if ever you want to teach your dog something or you want to interrupt something and you're doing it with overexcitement, then your dog is not going to be able to actually understand what you're trying to say or trying to teach.
So basically, you want to use a neutral, calm tone of voice. A calm and assertive leader also is always patient and consistent. Patience and consistency helps create a bond with your dog and helps create trust, which is the foundation of a good relationship.
Another key to establishing a proper and healthy leadership with your dog is to provide proper exercise and proper stimulation. And to do so, you could offer regular exercise, proper mental stimulation, structured playtime, and training.
And a final key to being a good leader is to set clear boundaries. Just like kids, dogs thrive in an environment where they know their boundaries and what's expected of them. So it's important to set clear rules and be always consistent with them. Dogs actually feel more secure and happy when they have rules. We're going to give you some tips to set clear rules and boundaries for your dog.
Number one, determine clearly your expectations for your dog. You have to decide on the specific things and specific behaviors you want your dog to have. For example, you have to decide if you want to allow your dog on the couch or not. And if you want to allow him on the couch, how do you want to allow him on the couch? You want him to wait and then get permission, which is the way to go, or you just want to allow him free for all to jump whenever he wants on and off the couch. Offering structure in that situation, asking for permission to get on the couch is actually a good way to offer leadership and also offer structure to your dog. Number two is consistency. So if you're offering the possibility to your dog to get on the couch with your own rules, that means that you have to be consistent on those rules. And it's important if there's multiple people living in the house that everybody applies the same rules.
Yes, because if one person is saying yes and the other person is saying no, your dog is going to get all mixed up. So it's important as a family decision that if you decide that, for instance, the couch is yes, then it's yes for everybody. If the couch is no and off limits, it's no for everybody in the family, and you be consistent with that rule with your dog. Next is having a clear communication. So you can communicate in a verbal or a non-verbal way. So verbal way is saying yes, no. Non-verbal way could be like a signal with your hand. Let's say no, stop. If your dog understands that cue, if it's something that you trained your dog to do. It can also be in a way that you put your leash on your dog and you guide him, for instance, the sofa example, off the sofa. So that's also communication, and you're being clear with your dog of what it is you want.
Remember, you could always reinforce your commands or your directions and your guidance with verbal and nonverbal. So if you go like this, you could actually say sit or hey. So you could put two signals together so that what you're asking for your dog to do is more clear for him.
And behind those signals or voice, even if you say yes or no, or even if you give a hand signal, the intention behind whatever signal or communication you're trying to express to your dog, that's the most important thing. Because you can be saying sit to your dog, for instance, and giving a command like sit, but if your intention isn't really seeing your dog sitting, well, maybe your dog's not going to understand it. So the intention behind the command or anything verbal communication or nonverbal communication that you give to your dog, it's important to really be aware of the intention behind it.
And like the saying goes, you have to see it to believe it. For dogs, you actually have to reverse the saying, which is you have to believe to see. And that's the magic. Training takes time, and sometimes it could get frustrating. And that's why you have to be patient, not only with your dog, but also with yourself. Don't try to put pressure on yourself to get the trick in one day or 1 week or whatever time frame that you want to do it in. Do it with patience and love, and you'll see you're going to eventually get it.
Right, and you have to allow yourself the learning experience. So this is a learning, this is practice, both for your dog and yourself. So give yourself that time to learn and experience. And if you fail, because it's not really fail, it's really a learning experience, but if something doesn't work out the way you want, well, you just start over and eventually you'll get it, and that's it.
Remember, it's a process, so just take your time, don't overdo it, do it when you want to do it, and everything's going to turn out just fine. If ever you're training your dog or working on a specific behavior and it's not working out and you're starting to be frustrated, take the time to just take a deep breath and relax and try to follow through. And as soon as you get a little success, reward the dog and walk away and put an end to the training. If ever you're tired or stressed, just put the training on hold.
You can also ask somebody else in the family to step in if ever there are other members of the family to really go reinforce the rule or the boundary that's being crossed, for example. When you're not in a good energy, it's simply not a good idea to continue training or to correct or work on a behavior. One final thing about setting rules and boundaries, if you're having a hard time and you've tried for weeks or even days and it's not going the way you want to, seek professional help. So it's always better to ask for help if you're not able to resolve whatever you need to work on in the moment.
Yeah, and before going on Google and doing the YouTube stuff and the Google stuff, just make sure that you're getting the proper information. Because in our experience, we have a lot of clients that, they had issues with their dogs, they went on Google, they went on YouTube, got some tips and tricks, and then finally when they got to us, they explained what they had learned, what they had tried in Google and YouTube. It was actually counterproductive to the goal that they had. So you got to make sure that you have the proper techniques for your dog.
Right, so YouTube, Google videos is great if you want to teach your dog to sit, down, stay. Those are pretty basic commands that, yes, a YouTube video could help you out. But when it comes to behaviors, it's important to really seek out professional help, like I said, if you're having trouble with it at home.
Yes, because obedience and commands and behavior is two completely different worlds. And you have to know the difference between the two if you want to succeed.
A structured walk is essential to promote leadership, balance, and overall well-being for your dog.
The structured walk in our eyes is really important because it's the foundation of your relationship. So if ever you're walking your dog and you're having issues, that means your relationship has issues. But if you're walking your dog properly, that means that your relationship is good. The reason why the structured walk is really important is because it's the foundation of your relationship. So what the structured walk represents is actually the guidance and the leadership that you are offering to your dog. And when you're keeping your dog's walk structured, you're actually offering leadership in his walk, which is his main exercise, his main work.
So a structured walk really starts inside the home. So first you want to grab your dog's leash without saying anything, just being neutral, putting it on your dog and going outside. So we use the doorways as thresholds. So basically we want our dogs to go out the door in a calm manner. Because if you have an excited dog inside the house, outside it's going to go times 10, if not more. So it's really important to start the walk inside in a calm manner.
That doesn't mean that you put the leash on your dog and you walk inside the house, which is something that you could do. But in this case, we're saying that you put on the leash and you don't celebrate or you don't create a party or overexcitement on the fact that we're going for a walk. Because the walk is actually an opportunity for you to offer some work, some fulfillment to your dog. So after putting the leash on your dog, you could actually bring him to the door and ask him to wait. You could ask him to sit or he could just stand. But what we want is for him to just express calmness. Once he is calm, we open the door, and if ever he has the urge to bolt, we're going to close back the door. Of course, we bring him back in. We close the door and start the process again. So the goal of this process to actually teach structure and calmness for the walk is that he needs to relax, offer calmness for him to start the walk. And that way you're teaching that outside represents calmness. And having a calm dog during the walk, especially at the beginning, is going to offer you the chance to actually have a great walk.
And another thing, also teaching your dog that open door doesn't mean I go out necessarily outside. And this is an issue that we've seen very, very often with our clients that have a hard time actually keeping their dog indoors. Let's say they have an Amazon package and they open the door and then the dog bolts out. So we don't want door open meaning I go right out. You know, door open just means door open. So it's important to actually teach your dog that before going out on the walk, and that's going to serve you in so many other ways.
So I hope that you see the importance of teaching the threshold of the doors to your dog. That means that open door doesn't mean that you have to go out. It actually means nothing. Door open, door closed should be for your dog the exact same thing, which is just an object that has moved and we don't pay interest. And that's why it's really important to teach the threshold at the door so that your dog doesn't get overexcited whenever he sees the door open.
So next, once you're outside and you went outside calmly, you want to begin the walk. So you want your dog beside you with a loose leash. So you don't want any tension on the leash. You don't want your dog 1 foot in front of you or in back of you. You really want your dog beside you, walking calmly.
Because the main goal in the structured walk is that you guys walk together.
So obviously when your dog goes out, he might need to do his business, but we want to do it again in a structured way. So in the first few minutes that you guys are outside, you could go to a tree, green grass, wherever you want your dog to do his business and let him sniff around and do his business.
So in those first 5 minutes, you could actually verbally say a command or guidance like, let's say, go pee-pee, go potty. Okay, so that's gonna be a way to teach your dog that that word means go potty.
And once he's done doing his business, then you're gonna continue the walk again in a calm manner, him beside you, walking calmly with a loose leash.
So the leash has to be short and loose, but not too long, because we want him to just have enough leash to be next to you, because we don't want him too in front or too in the back, because he might want to explore a little bit too much. And in a structured walk, we don't want the exploring to be overwhelming for the dog, because a lot of people don't know, but if your dog is smelling around everywhere, he's actually smelling the squirrels, the birds, the other dogs, and that creates in their mind excitement. So if your dog goes and sniffing the whole walk for, let's say, half an hour, so that's half an hour of excitement that he's gonna have to release inside the house. And that's not something that we wanted. So that's why the structured walk, you want your dog to be right next to you and just focus on the walk between you and him.
And that's one of the benefits of the structured walk is the physical stimulation part. So obviously your dog is walking, but when your dog is walking properly beside you, he could actually drain his energy, not only physically, but also mentally.
Especially mentally, because we've had a dog walking business where we had dogs like huskies and big dogs that needed a lot of exercise. And with a 45-minute structured walk, they were totally pooped after the walk. And the owners would come back to a tired dog that's fully, they could feel the dog was fulfilled. And that is really like a job for them.
Right, and this is where sometimes there's a bit of confusion. A lot of people will think, well, I let my dog run out in the yard for an hour and he comes back inside and he's still like running around the house. Well, that's because outdoors was running around loose by himself in the yard, or even if you're throwing the ball, that just creates excitement. So the brain of the dog just stays high stimulation, overexcited. It never really calms down. So that's why when your dog comes back in, he's still overstimulated.
Yes, so let me explain that to you. So excitement is energy. So you have mental and physical energy. So when you're allowing your dog to go outside in the yard and just run around or just play ball with him, so physically the energy goes down, but mentally, because you're stimulating the prey drive, you're actually overexciting him. Okay, so when he gets super excited, you play for an hour outside, oh my God, he's unkillable. We hear that a lot. And then the dog goes back inside, he rests for like 20 minutes, and then he has all this pent up excitement inside of him. And that's when the bad behaviors start. It's because they have this energy, this over amount of energy that they need to use. So that is going to transform in bad behaviors. The barking at the window, barking at the door, the chewing on the tables, the whatever bad behavior is the source is the overexcitement, the pent-up energy. Okay? So in the structured walk, what happens is that you're offering the physical stimulation, so it brings the energy, the physical energy down, but they're in work mode. So that means that the mental is actually being drained. So after this structured walk, when they go back home, they actually rest, the physical goes up, but the overexcitement and the mental part is drained. So they wake up and then they stretch and they just walk around being good boys, good girls, coming to see you.
Feeling calm, relaxed.
Feeling calm and relaxed, exactly. And that's where you see the benefits of the structured walk. Okay, and I'm telling you, this is magic. Our clients love it. It changes lives. And you're actually fulfilling your dog in a good way.
Right, and we're not saying that playing with your dog is off limits. It's just maybe if you want to play with your dog, maybe offer the structured walk first. Like that, you know that your dog, well, first you created a bond with your dog. You created some balance, some leadership. Your dog is following you. He's doing his work. And then after that, you could go into a structured play. If you like to play ball with your dog, that's fine also. But always go with the structured walk before, and then you could go into play.
So the playing is the reward, and then after the play, if you have a dog that's really excitable, you could offer a little bit of structured walk again to bring down again the energies to a bare minimum before going back inside.
Now, in order to master the walk and have a good structured walk, the equipment you use is also super important.
The leash that we recommend for a structured walk is the slip lead. So this is a slip lead. It has a handle, and it's a basic rope with this at the end. So a lot of people are going to say, oh, it looks like a choker. We don't want to choke the dog. This is not to choke, because if you're properly walking your dog with no tension on the leash, there's never going to be any strangling going on. The reason why we like this system is for safety wise, because if ever anything happens and your dog tries to pull or tries to get away, this is actually gonna close and make sure, like, not like a collar that could come off. This is actually gonna stay there. And that's basically why we use this. And we've been using this for 15 years now. And the little story, the reason why we are using this is because when we did our dog walking business, we had a little pincher dog, which is a mini Doberman, with a pretty collar with rhinestones in it. She was new, and we were walking downtown with 6, 7 other dogs. And when we stopped for peeing, she went to pee, and then the collar was right about her ear. So I was like, oh, okay, sweetie, come here. And she just went like that. The collar came off. Total nightmare. Running around like a crazy guy with a huge dog, because I had a Saint Bernard, a big lab, a Doberman. I was running like crazy for half an hour. Thank God we caught her, and she was safely brought back home. And that same day, I lost 1 pound because I ran like a crazy guy. But we also looked in a safe leash to use, and that's where we found the slip lead. And like I said, if you use it properly, it's going to be wonderful. Like any tools, like a knife is nice to cut meat, to do some, nice cooking, but it could also use to harm, and that's not what we want. So the slip lead is the same thing. We actually use it the proper way, so we benefit the dog and our relationship also. So the way to use the leash is you put it around your dog's head, and then you make sure that it goes right up to the highest point of the neck, especially underneath, because we don't want any pressure of strangling on the throat. We actually want it to be on top, because on top you could actually press and there's no strangulation possible here. And with the leash around the ears and around the cranium, you actually have really good control over your dog. It's like having power steering, and that allows to control the head. And when you control the head, you actually have the control of your dog's mind, because if ever he's fixated, for example, on another dog, you could actually slightly apply a little bit of pressure and your dog's head is going to easily turn away. Okay, it's not overpowering your dog. You're basically using the slightest force to actually guide your dog to feel better.
Right, and it's just like in dog competitions. If you watch them on TV, you'll see that all the dogs are following their leader, their teacher, their parent, however you want to call it, with a slip lead, just in the same way, because that's really the best way to guide your dog and for your dog to follow you as well. So let's address some common walking issues. So a common issue your dog may have on the walk is no focus or attention. So one exercise that we actually teach our clients to do at home before even going out is focus. So basically what focus means is you're going to have your dog in front of you, you're going to take a piece of food, put it in your two hands, and you're going to call your dog's name. So basically, let's say you'll say Max, and as soon as your dog gives you eye contact, you're going to reward with a piece of food. And with repetition, you'll see that your dog is actually going to stare you in the eyes and really focus on you, focus his attention on you, and give you eye contact. And that's really a focus exercise that's great to do in order for your dog to have focus outside. Now, it's important to practice this exercise inside the home. And once your dog gives you more focused attention, so a few seconds, let's say 30 seconds, then you could bring this exercise outside. And that's really an awesome exercise to do and to teach your dog to have more focus and attention. So when you're going to go outside, there may be a squirrel, there may be leaves blowing, there may be another dog, but you could call your dog's name. He'll look at you, and that helps out with focus and attention.
And one of the main issues that we have regarding the walk is leash reactivity. So leash reactivity is when the dog is on the leash and sees another dog and starts reacting, pulling, growling, jumping, and trying to go get the other dog. So that's where focus is really important, because by saying your dog's name, that's going to allow him to know mentally that he needs to pay attention to you instead of paying attention to the other dog. And also having the proper leash, which would be the slip lead, right at the right place on the neck, you could actually control his head. So instead of him watching the other dog, you're actually going to have the opportunity to actually help him look away from the situation and actually help his mind to get out of that excitement.
Another way to address leash reactivity is by desensitizing your dog to another dog. So let's say your dog gets all excited, barking a whole show when there's another dog on the other side of the street. You want to desensitize your dog to other dogs. So if you always go in avoidance, so sometimes when we have clients call us, they actually tell us that they only walk their dog like at 5 a.m. when there are no dogs, or at 10 p.m. when there are, again, no dogs. And that's not what we want. We want our dogs to be able to walk around whenever you feel like going out, dogs outside or no dogs.
So one of the best ways to help your dog desensitize to leash reactivity or being active with other dogs is if you know somebody that has a good dog, a calm dog, you could actually use him as an example for your dog to see that a dog could actually be calm next to another dog. So in this situation, you could actually walk your dog next to the other dog, but not right next to them. You will have to find the distance where you see that your dog is comfortable. So it could be like 100 feet at first, then you start reducing as you see your dog being okay and not reacting to the presence of the other dog.
And with time and repetition, it's going to get better, but it takes practice. And again, we want you to stay safe. So if ever your dog is highly reactive and you don't really have control over your dog, we don't recommend you doing this. Seek professional help.
And also in this situation, even if you seek professional help or not, we highly recommend to have a muzzle, because having a muzzle on your dog actually reduces the stress for you, because you're 100% sure that your dog is not going to go bite another person. Because sometimes when people have a reactive dog, one of the worries behind, in the subconscious mind is that the dog is going to get loose and actually going to bite another dog. So with the muzzle, it actually brings a little bit of calmness to the dog owner, because he knows that the dog is not going to be able to go bite another dog or another person. One of the things that you need to be careful when you're trying to address that reactivity with your dog is, if you go see videos on YouTube and Google and they're using food, usually food has to be given at the proper time. But if you're doing it by yourself, I highly recommend not using food, just use guidance. Because if food is introduced at the wrong moment, you might be reinforcing the wrong behavior or the wrong state of mind. And something that you must not do is grab food and throw it out on the floor when another dog is there. That's a big no-no. If a trainer tells you to throw food, I'm telling you, walk away.
Some other common behavior issues that we've seen on walks is actually fear. So we talk a lot about reactivity, but there's also a lot of dogs that are fearful. So this could be fear of just a puddle of water. This could be fear of a garbage can.
Of cars, of trucks.
Of cars, trucks, and sewers. And these fears are just as bad as reactivity. We kind of pay more attention to reactivity, but fear is also your dog saying that he's not comfortable and he's not well. So it's also important to really address these fears. And we do that basically the same way we do for reactivity with dogs. It's really desensitizing the dogs to whatever they're fearful of. And it's really important not to let a dog stay in that state of mind of fear, anxiety, or whatever they're feeling at that moment.
Yeah, so when your dog is having fear or anxiety next to, let's say, a car or a puddle of water, gently, so reach inside of you, reach that calmness that we were talking about, and help your dog go through the puddle, go next to the car, go next to the garbage can. So by doing that, you need to do it with calmness. So you might need to apply a little bit of pressure, but remember, it's for his own good. So the pressure is going to last a couple of seconds, and that little pressure is going to offer him a lifetime of no stress and no anxiety and no fear. So you have to go through that little moment so that you could actually help your dog. Because remember, that's love. If you want a proper dog, you have to have the love to actually apply that little pressure to get him out of that state of mind where there's no real danger.
The next essential key is socialization. Socialization is super important in a dog's life. And by socialization, we mean to socialize and to be used to other dogs, other species, other types of flooring even, all types of people that have big coats on, people that have hats on. So it's important to get your dog used to all of these types of environments. And there's a big misconception that socialization is only done in dog parks, and that's totally false.
So bringing dogs to the dog park is actually not recommended. We do not recommend you sending your dog to a dog park or going with your dog at a dog park, because there's a lot of people that don't know how to control their dogs, and so bringing your dogs in there is actually dangerous. Like, I've seen horrors done in those dog parks, and that's why we definitely not recommend it, because it's a free-for-all. Dogs are all over the place, getting super excited, being everywhere, so you're actually bringing your dog there to learn bad habits. So instead of doing that, you could actually focus on more structured things to do so that your dog becomes more structured and more calm in his way of being on an everyday basis.
Right, and socialization with other dogs, if you want your dog obviously to be in contact with other dogs, it could simply be walking in the neighborhood. If you have neighbors that have good dogs and that have calm dogs, you could just say, okay, let's go for a walk. Everybody at 7 o'clock, we're outside walking our dogs. So that's socialization. Your dog does not need to play in a dog park in order for it to be socialized.
Yes, and so on the other hand, if you want to use the dog park to socialize your dog, that's actually a good thing. So you could actually offer the structured walk that we talked about before. and actually apply it walking next to a dog park. So your dog has to be next to you. Your dog could actually look but not pay attention or getting over fixated on the dogs that are playing. So you could actually guide him constantly to look away from the dog park. Some people might think that it's, sad that the dog doesn't get to play, but remember, we're talking of a lifetime. Your dog is going to learn how to behave for life. So if you allow excitement right off the bat, you're actually going to have to deal with that your whole life, his whole life. That's why we want to practice ignoring dogs that are excited. So imagine after a couple of weeks when you're passing by that dog park and your dog doesn't care, that's going to be success for your dog because he's going to be able to control his emotion, control his excitement when we have dogs that are overexcited. And that's going to allow your dog to be a good dog, an example dog. And by having a good dog, you're going to be able to help others too.
If you are looking to socialize your dog with another small group of dogs, we recommend really searching for a dog daycare that offers structure and promotes balance. So you have to really do your research, and there are daycares out there that actually promote that. So you could bring your dog for a couple of hours. Your dog is going to be around other dogs, but there's always people that are there monitoring the dog's behaviors.
Controlling that excitement.
Right? Unlike in a dog park, most dog owners are pretty much doing their own thing, maybe talking to each other on their cell phones, not really paying attention to each and every dog that is there. That's why if you really want to socialize your dog with a little group of dogs, you could invite people over. You could have a structured dog party in your backyard, or again, in a structured daycare where people are actually there to monitor your dog and make sure everybody is safe. So the next key to having a good, well-mannered, balanced dog is really to identify some common behavioral issues.
So one of the most important things when you have a dog and you start noticing behaviors that are unwanted, you need to address them right away. Because the longer you wait, the longer it's going to be to erase or change that behavior.
So here are some common behavior issues. First off, aggression. Aggression could be a dog that is barking, that is growling, that is biting, and this is really a severe issue that we recommend that you seek help right away.
The other major one is separation anxiety, and the separation anxiety, it's actually created by the human. Usually becomes a problem when the human allows the dog to always cling on them. Because allowing your dog, because remember, your dog is not a human, your dog is an animal. So if you put an animal that's always following you or always being next to you or always being in your arms, you're actually creating an unbalance in his behavior. And that becomes a problem because for them, it's unnatural. So you need to be careful on how you treat your dog, because if you treat it as a human, as a baby, you have big chances of creating separation anxiety. And separation anxiety, for those that don't know, is that you're not able to separate from your dog because your dog gets panic attacks whenever you leave or you're not around or he doesn't see you. And that is a big stressful thing for him in his life. So remember, it might not look big, but if ever your dog lives that through his life, stress is not good for anybody's health. So it's not good for their health either.
A way to address separation anxiety that we found that works really well is actually using the crate. So if you have a puppy, your crate is your best friend, not only for potty training, but also to create that safe space for your dog to be in when you leave. So this could be done gradually. So again, we're not going to just throw the dog in the crate and then leave the home and expect the dog to be okay. We want to introduce the crate gradually in order for your dog to be calm and feel good. And a lot of people have misconceptions or have like feelings.
Negative feelings.
Yeah, have negative feelings about the crate. But if you see the crate in a way that it's just a safe space for your dog to be in, your dog actually feels better when he's in the crate, when he is in his space, than having the liberty to roam around in the house. So one thing, again, that's why we say that separation anxiety is created by humans, because sometimes people are going to feel bad to put their dog in the crate because they say, oh, I'm gone at work from 9 to 5, my dog is going to be in the crate this whole time. But your dog actually feels better, because if your dog is alone in the home, roaming the space everywhere. He could go to windows. Now maybe he's going to see the mailman. Maybe he's going to see an Amazon package arriving. Maybe he's going to see another dog, squirrels, birds, whatever. And then he's going to start being anxious, barking, doing all sorts of things. And you're not there to actually guide him not to do that. So that's where really separation anxiety is created, because the dog doesn't know how to be alone and doesn't know how to regulate all these emotions. So that's why even if your dog is a bit older, 6 months, 2 years old, you could still introduce the crate in a gradual way, and that could really help your dog to let go of separation anxiety.
Yeah, and a lot of people that have dogs that suffer from separation anxiety, usually they're not aware that the dog has separation anxiety until a professional points it out. And a lot of our clients, what we recommend is to put a camera while they're gone to see what is the behavior of the dog during their absence. And usually, a lot of cases is the dog is pacing non-stop. So that means the more they pace, the more stress they're accumulating inside them. And then they see something in the window, they bark, and they get overstressed. And then they go eat, so they're feeding that stress. And then repeat. So pacing, attacking the person or the mailman or the squirrel through the window, so creating frustration. So there's a lot of things that don't help when you have your dog not in a crate while your dog is suffering from separation anxiety. And we've also seen dogs that start crying, and they cry for the whole time right until the dog owner comes back home.
Right. So it's super important to, if you can, introduce the crate at a young age and really get used to being alone at a young age. If your dog is older, it's always possible to do it. It just may take a bit more time. So one thing that's super important also is not to make a big deal when you're actually leaving the home. Because a lot of owners will say, okay, bye baby, I'm going to be gone all day, but mommy's going to come back or daddy's going to come back. And then you throw a show and you make this, you hype up your dog, and then you leave. And then your dog's all alone just sitting there like, okay, you know, your dog doesn't understand all the words that are coming out of your mouth.
Yeah,
right?
so to make it clear what the dog is feeling, oh, I'm going to play with my owner, I'm going to play with my owner, and then the owner disappears.
That's it.
Where's my owner? And that's when separation anxiety is created, because you hype him up, you're offering play, and while you're saying, bye buddy, you're going to be a good boy, and while I'm gone to work, I'll be right back, I'll bring you some treats, and that creates excitement, and the dog's like, oh my god, we're going to have so much fun right now, and boom, you disappear.
And then you leave a dog that is anxious, stressed, at home, all alone, and
the dog starts looking for you, doesn't find you, oh my god, stress, my owner's disappeared, oh my god, I have to find her.
So that's where the issues stem from. So it's important also the same thing, when you come back, you don't need to make a big deal out of it. So you just come back, you do your things, and then you welcome your dog. Hi. You know, you don't even no talking.
Yeah, bring him to potty right away, because
exactly.
he needs to probably to go potty.
That's it.
And then all in silence, just put the leash, bring him to potty spot, bring him back, leave him loose, do your thing. And don't go, oh, hello, puppy, I miss you, because you don't know 100% what he's done or how he felt while you were gone. And if you reward that anxiety without knowing, then you're going to reinforce the anxiety without knowing again.
Exactly. So calm energy is your best friend. Another common issue that we touched on before are fears and phobias. So this could be a puddle of water outside. This could be maybe your dog is scared of a stainless steel bowl. Sometimes we have clients that call us because their dog is scared of a bowl. So that's why it's important, again, to show your dog different things. So for instance, stainless steel bowl, ceramic bowl, wood bowl, it's all a bowl. So,
plants.
Yeah, exactly.
Chairs.
If your dog goes into hiding, trembling, is feeling anxious, is going away in a room and just like curling up in a ball, well, this means most likely that your dog is fearful or has a phobia of something, like something triggered him in order for him to react that way. And it's important to not go
into baby mode. Oh, poor you, poor baby, you're scared. And then you start petting him. You're actually reinforcing that fear.
That's it. You're nurturing that. So basically you're telling him, okay, you're scared. Okay, good
job
boy.
for being
Good.
scared.
Yeah, continue being in that state of mind. And that's not what we want. So what we suggest, let's say you see that your dog goes to hide because of a strong, loud noise. Well, you're going to put the leash on your dog and actually bring him out of his hiding space, because we don't want him to stay frozen there in a certain spot, because like we said, he stays in that state of mind. We really want to bring him out and make it so he knows that there's no big deal, this noise is okay, you are safe. And you communicate that with calm energy, with your body posture, with your tone of voice, like we spoke about before.
Another common behavior issue is destructive behavior. When they chew, they dig, they scratch, they destroy anything in the house or in the yard. So that's destructive behavior. Whenever your dog expresses destructive behavior, it's important to stop it right away. So you can actually make a noise to make him change that state of mind of focusing on whatever he's doing.
And if you're not home and you come back to a chewed up shoe, a chewed up sofa, well, these are things that happen as well. And most of the time it's because the dog is feeling anxious, stressed, or is simply bored.
And remember, a dog that chews or eats or destroys anything and actually swallows it is extremely dangerous and could lead you to a big vet bill.
This is why, again, we recommend the crate, because in a crate, your dog is safe. You know that he's not destroying or chewing anything that could actually harm him. Another issue that could happen is house soiling, where your dog pees and poops inside the home. So there can be different reasons for this. First, you have to check off that it's not a medical reason. So if this is happening often, maybe go get your dog checked at the vet and to see if there's not an infection or anything wrong on the medical side. Once all is good on the medical side, then it's really a behavioral problem that you have to address. So maybe the dog never really learned to do his business outside, or maybe your dog is simply having these destructive behaviors again because he can be stressed, anxious, bored. You know, there's so many reasons. But again, we recommend the crate, because in the crate, your dog actually doesn't really want to pee and poop where he can sleep. So the crate is, again, a great tool for teaching your dog to be potty trained even at an older age.
Another common issue is the excessive jumping. So dogs jumping on people, on neighbors, on other dogs, on the sofa. So all that is created by a lack of guidance and structure. You have to be there. You have to show your dog that that's not something that we do. So the leash is a great tool to help your dog learn that. So by having a leash on your dog whenever people are coming over or whenever he's inside the house and starts to get overexcited, and you could actually guide him, let's say, to his bed or keeping him next to you and not jumping, that's going to accelerate the process of him learning that jumping is not a thing that he's supposed to do.
Healthy nutrition and wellness. To have a well-balanced dog, it's important that your dog has a well-balanced diet as well. So you have to understand proper nutrition. And what we mean by proper nutrition is basically knowing the ingredients of what you feed your dog. So it's important to pay attention to the ingredients. Now, there are different diets that you could feed your dog. There's kibble, there's raw diet, there's also freeze-dry and home food.
So the best food that you could give your dog, if properly done, would be the raw diet. The raw diet is exactly what they need because dogs are carnivores, and by eating raw, they get all the nutrients and enzymes that they need to have a proper and healthy diet.
Of course, there are different companies that make raw food or kibble or any type of food that you buy. So it's really important to check the ingredients, because although we do recommend a raw diet, there are companies that don't necessarily make the right recipes in order to fulfill your dog's needs. So you really have to do your homework and study what companies are actually really good and what other companies are maybe not as good. So you have to choose a diet that works well for you and your dog. Now, if raw food works well, that's great. But if it doesn't, there are also other alternatives, like we mentioned before, that have good food also.
You have dry frozen fruit that when you get a good company that does it, is full with all the ingredients and the vitamins and the enzymes that your dog needs. So it's basically doing the research and just making sure that the food that you're giving your dog has good ingredients. If you see that the list of ingredients is really, really long and has a lot of meal, which is a type of flour of whatever meat that they use, that meal doesn't have any nutrients at the end. It's cooked and overcooked and transformed as flour, and they cook it multiple times to get it to the flour state. And when they reach the flour state, there's no nutrients whatsoever. So try to find a food that has ingredients that are mainly protein and don't have a lot of chemicals in them, or fillers like we call them.
The kibble that we recommend our clients is called Farmina. We did a lot of research on kibble specifically because we know most people choose kibble, and we found that really their list of ingredients is very good. It's mostly protein, and they'll add in some vegetables as well. So if you're looking to buy a kibble for your dog, Farmina would be the way to go.
Just make sure that you give proper food to your dog because it could actually affect his behavior and, of course, his health.
Another thing that you could do is actually add human food to your dog's meal. Now, it's important to know that not all human food is actually good for your dog, so we invite you to do your research on what foods are good. But some vegetables and fruits that are super good are sweet potato, pumpkin, broccoli, blueberries, apples. So these are all foods that you could add to your dog's diet. But again, we urge you to do your research, and also all dogs are different. So sometimes dogs have allergies. It's something that could happen. So maybe for one dog, pumpkin is good, but maybe for another dog, it's not good. So you really have to test out and see what works for your dog.
And when you find the proper recipe with the good ingredients, what your dog enjoys and assimilates, then you could go with that.
And I just want to mention also that it's best to give actually raw vegetables and raw fruit. So you don't need to cook the vegetables before giving them to your dog. It's actually better to give it raw because there's more vitamins. Another thing that you could add to your dog's meals is actually some raw food. So if you're not going with the raw diet, you could always buy some raw meat. So chicken hearts or some liver, and you could give that raw to your dog maybe a few times a week, and that is super good for their diet.
So remember, these are guidelines, so make sure that you do the proper research.
Another important element in your dog's nutrition and wellness is actually creating a routine, a feeding schedule for your dog. We do not recommend to leave food out all day. We actually recommend feeding morning and evening. When your puppy is younger, you could divide his daily meal into 3 portions. So around 10 months, you could actually go down to only 2 meals per day. And like I said, we highly recommend feeding on a schedule. So for instance, if you need to go to work and you want your dog to eat before you leave, you would feed your dog, let's say at 7 a.m. And then again, when you come back home, you could give another meal. So we don't leave the food out, and we like to present our dogs with this structure. So we give the meal in the morning, you eat. If your dog doesn't eat everything, you take away the bowl, and same thing in the evening. So whatever your dog didn't eat in the morning, you could add it to the PM portion, and you present your dog with his food for the evening.
And by presenting your dog's meal every time that he has to eat, that is bringing to your dog structures. You're offering leadership. So your dog sees you as leadership because you're the one that brings him food. So that allows you to be relevant to him because you're the source of his food.
And you can also use some of his food for training as well. So when we're training dogs, we typically take the dog's food. We don't use any super treats to do some daily training. We just use the dog's meals, and that teaches your dog that he is working for his food. So you could actually take a portion of his food, and if you know that you have 15 minutes of training that you want to practice, sit down, stay, come, any commands, you take a bit of food and you do the training with the food.
By doing so, it allows your dog to feel fulfilled. You're allowing your dog to feel that he has a purpose in his life, that he has a job, that he has something to do other than just chill around all day. And that's structure again and leadership.
It's also important to incorporate in your dog's routine some dental care and some grooming.
If you have a pup, you could actually brush him every day so that he gets used to the brushing. You could also clean the teeth with a little finger brush every day. And eventually, when he's going to be older, you could do the same thing, but maybe once a week, just so that he doesn't lose the habit of being comfortable being brushed or having his teeth brushed.
And depending on the type of dog that you have, there are dogs that need more grooming than others. So maybe you're going to choose to bring your dog to the groomer, which is a great option. And if not, it's important to actually do the grooming at home. And also check your dog's ears, because sometimes certain dogs are prone to ear infections, or simply if you never clean your dog's ears, it could have like buildup and there's actually moist that could get stuck in there and bacteria, and that could create infections as well. So it's important to always like clean the eyes, clean the ears, cut the nails, the dental care as we said, and brush your dog. Maybe some of you love it when your dog smells nice and his fur is like all nice and shiny and clean, but we do not recommend to wash your dog, actually shampoo your dog too often, because that could actually irritate his skin. So we recommend doing a shampoo or bath every change of season, so every 3 months about. But again, this depends on your dog. Of course, if your dog gets all dirty, well, you're gonna wanna wash him. And some dogs just need grooming a little bit more often, and that's fine also.
Also important is to choose the proper vet. So we recommend to choose a vet that's more holistic.
So a holistic vet will evaluate what your dog needs and then recommend whatever is needed for your specific dog. Again, it's important to do your research and see what's best for you and your dog. Creating a balanced home. Maintaining a calm and balanced environment at home is important for the well-being of you and your dog. Here are some strategies to help you achieve that. Number 1, establishing clear rules and boundaries. Set clear rules and boundaries for your dogs to follow. It's important that the whole family is on board and that everybody is on the same page. If somebody has one rule and somebody else has another, it's going to create confusion for your dog. So we all want to have the same rules and boundaries. It's also important to be consistent and to follow through with those rules and those boundaries. This provides structure and helps your dog understand their role in the family, and also creates calm and security for your dog.
Number 2, provide sufficient exercise and mental stimulation. Regular exercise and mental stimulation is crucial if you want a balanced dog. Make sure you engage your dog in daily physical activities, such as a structured walk, structured play sessions, training sessions, and even structured rest time. A tired and mentally satisfied dog will be most likely to exhibit calm behavior at home.
Number 3, create a safe and comfortable space for your dog. Make sure your dog has a designated space for him to feel comfortable, relaxed, and safe. You can provide a comfortable bed or crate in a quiet space in the house. We strongly suggest using a crate because it really creates a calm environment for your dog. It's like your dog's little room, little space that's designated just for him to feel calm and relaxed. When using a crate, we recommend placing it in a quiet space, not in front of the door, because obviously in front of the front door there's a lot of going out, coming in, there's a lot of action. So we really want to put the crate in a room that is calm. So this could be maybe the living room, maybe a spare room that you have, any place that is quiet. When your dog has their space, it gives them the opportunity to retreat for some downtime, and it also prevents overstimulation that could lead to anxiety.
Number 4, maintain a consistent daily routine. Just like children, dogs thrive on structure. So by establishing a daily routine that's really solid and consistent, it allows your dog to know what's going on during the day. So by knowing what's going on during the day, it prevents from him wondering what's going on and creating stress and anxiety. So make sure that you provide him with regular meal times, regular training sessions, regular structured walk, and regular playtime and downtime. Having a predictable routine will help your dog to feel safe and secure and avoid anxiety.
Number 5, reward positive behavior and address unwanted behaviors. So when your dog is being calm and is doing behaviors that you want him to do, it's important to reward that. You could pet him, you could give a piece of food if you are training, or you could simply be happy and joyful inside. On the other hand, if your dog is doing unwanted behaviors, it's important to address those behaviors, because if we don't address them, these behaviors can continue and become habits. and they could also become worse. So addressing unwanted behaviors is simply guiding your dog and showing him what not to do. So this could be a verbal command like no, or it could be guiding him physically with, let's say, a leash off the sofa or towards where he's supposed to go. So remember to keep it simple. Reward the good and interrupt the unwanted.
6. Avoid rewarding unwanted behaviors. When you have a dog, you need to be mindful of what you're rewarding. So you need to be mindful and aware of what you are rewarding, because you want to make sure that you're not rewarding unwanted behaviors. Sometimes unknowingly we reward bad behaviors. For example, if your dog is jumping on the couch just to say hi and then you pet him, so technically you're reinforcing the fact that he's jumping on the couch by himself and deciding that he wants to invade your personal space. So you have two things to interrupt: the jumping on the couch and invading the human personal space. So to make sure that you don't reinforce that, it's really important that you don't celebrate him, don't pet him, oh good boy, I love you too. You just gotta make sure that you give affection at the right time. So in this example, you could actually bring him back down, and then when he's calm, give him affection, and then you could invite him on the couch and give him a little bit more affection. So by not rewarding bad behaviors, you're making sure that you're not creating bad habits. So a good exercise would be to pay attention during the day. Where are the little rewards and moments of affection that you give to your dog when you shouldn't? Okay, so by knowing exactly when you're providing affection or rewarding a bad behavior, you're going to be able to put a stop to it.
And this could be small things like, let's say you're at the table, you're eating, and you give your dog a piece of food. You know, we don't really think about it, but by giving the piece of food to your dog, well, that indicates to him, okay, I could come and ask for food and beg for food at the table, and then it becomes an undesired behavior. Number 7, calm energy and leadership. Dogs are super sensitive to energy, which is why it's important to maintain a calm and assertive energy, as we talked about before. So be a calm, confident, and consistent leader, and you'll see that your dog is going to naturally follow your guidance.
Number 8, seek professional guidance. If you're facing significant challenges, make sure that you don't drag it on too long. Go get professional help. Professional help will be able to guide you and provide you with the proper information and guidance so that you could resolve the issue at hand. They'll be able to give you proper steps to get rid of the unwanted behavior. Remember, creating a calm and balanced environment at home requires calmness, patience, consistency, and a proactive approach. So by implementing all these strategies, you can create a harmonious living space for you, your family, and your dog.
Building trust and a bond with your dog. Building a strong bond, mutual trust, and mutual respect with your dog is crucial for a harmonious relationship with your dog. Here are some tips to help you out.
Number 1, consistency and clear communication. Be consistent and clear with all the communication you're having with your dog. Use clear cues, hand signals, and commands to be consistent in enforcing all your rules and boundaries. Consistency will help your dog understand what is expected from him and actually build trust through predictability.
Number 2, respect your dog's boundaries. Just like you, your dog also has boundaries. It's important to respect your dog's personal space. Sometimes we love them so much and we want to get in their face and in their space, but they don't always like it. So just like us, we don't necessarily want our dog always licking our face. It's the same for them. They don't always want us in their space. By respecting their boundaries and them respecting our boundaries, this creates obviously some respect and also creates trust.
Number 4, choosing the proper training for your dog. So the most important thing when you're training your dog and educating your dog is to use calmness. You can't go around and scream at your pup because you're tired or because you're stressed or because you're frustrated. That will actually break the trust that your dog has towards you. And we don't want that. So whenever you're training your dog, make sure that you have a positive attitude and you actually want to train your dog and educate your dog. Because if you don't, your dog's going to feel it and it's going to affect the training. And by having a stable communication with your dog while training or even on a daily basis, will strengthen the bond between you and your dog.
Remember, your dogs live in the present moment, so they're not aware of whatever happened at work or happened in traffic. They're just living now in the present moment, and they're helping you to get into the present moment. So really, when you're feeling good, in a positive attitude, that's the time to do the training, do the education that you need to do. Other than that, leave it to somebody else in the family. Number 5, spend quality time with your dog. Set aside some time dedicated to your dog each day. This could be training sessions, playtime, walks, relaxation sessions, or just hanging out with your dog. You can also do gentle petting, grooming, and cuddling with your dog. This helps strengthen your bond with you and your dog and helps build some trust. So take some one-on-one time to help you build connection with your dog.
Remember, building a strong bond and mutual trust with your dog takes time. You have to be patient, understanding, and focus on creating positive experiences with your dog. By nurturing that bond, you'll establish a deep and meaningful bond with your dog.
Maintaining long-term success with your dog and a lifetime of happiness. As we know, having a puppy takes some work and dedication. We have to remember that all dogs are different. Even if we had some dogs in the past that were super easy to train, sometimes the dog that we have in front of us isn't always the same. So we have to remember to always train and appreciate the dog in front of us. Maintaining good training and education takes consistency, reinforcement, and ongoing practice. Here are some strategies to help you have a well-mannered dog for a lifetime.
So, number 1, consistency. Be consistent in your expectations and always follow through with commands and cues. Like we mentioned before, dogs thrive on consistency and structure. So make sure everybody in the household is on the same page and uses consistent cues and reinforcement techniques.
Number 2, regular practice. Set aside regular practice sessions to train your dog. Even if your dog has already learned a command or a behavior and is good at it, it's important to continue to practice it to help solidify and maintain good behavior and commands. Make sure to incorporate short training sessions every day to keep your dog's skill sharp. Now, this could be 10-15 minutes each and every day, and you could actually divide the training sessions into 2 training sessions. And even if one member of the family wants to do 5 minutes, and then at the end of the day, another member of the family will do 5 to 10 minutes, that's perfect, as long as your dog gets some daily training.
Number 3, gradual decrease in rewards. So eventually, when your dog gets good at any behavior or any command, you gotta make sure that you give affection or you are just proud of him as a reward. If you tend to feed treats or food every time that he's training, your dog is gonna eventually work for food or for affection. And that's not something that we want. We want your dog to follow through and obey because he loves you and respects you. So the way to do that is transitioning from a reward every single time that he succeeds to a reward one time and then 2 times no, 1 time yes, 2 times no, and then eventually 1 time yes and 5 times no, and so on and so on. So at the end, he just follows through because, like I said before, he actually respects and wants to do what you ask him to.
Number 4, generalized behaviors. Practice trained behaviors in different environments with different distractions and around different people and animals. This helps your dog to generalize behaviors and understand that the command applies in various contexts. So once your dog is trained in different environments and around different people and animals, you can increase the level of difficulty. This will reinforce the training even more.
Because at the end of the day, you want your dog to obey and listen to what you have to say wherever you are and in whatever situation you are.
So whether it's at home, at the beach, or in a cafe, you know that your dog is going to be reliable and well trained wherever they are.
Number 5, address any regression promptly. If you notice any regression in your dog's behavior, make sure you nip it in the bud. You have to stop it right away so that it doesn't come back, and make sure that you address it so it just disappears and vanishes. So if needed, make sure that you go back to the basic training so that you could actually help your dog get through that phase. And know that it's just that, a phase. You did not fail your pup, you did not fail your training. It's just as a living being, sometimes they go back to old bad habits. So you just need to go back to basics and that's it. So remember, maintaining your dog good behavior, good commands, and good habits is an ongoing process. So by remaining consistent in his training and behavior monitoring throughout his life, you're going to make sure that he always knows what he has to do and what he can do. So we hope that all this information will be used for you to create a solid foundation with you and your dog. And remember, if ever you need help or assistance, make sure you contact a professional. Our information will be at the end of the video, so if you need to contact us, don't be shy and just reach out.
Remember, you got this and we believe in you.
Take care and remember to go walk your dog.